Welcome back everyone, it's Eric from Americana here. Today we are back with another first impressions video, taking a look at the new Japanese set, Shocking Volt Tackle. Just got revealed in full outside of like the secret rares and full arts and stuff like that, but all of like the base cards from the set just got revealed in full. Of course, this is going to be one of the main components of our Vivid Voltage set that we'll be getting in November. So it'll be a while before we get these cards, but these are going to be, like I said, a good portion of the cards that make up the set. So, we want to hop in here, check out, see what is dropping, give some of my, again, first impressions here. Our full set review will have much more in-depth and concise thoughts, but I've only seen a few cards from the set. So by and large, guys, I don't really know what we're walking into. So just kind of excited to see what we're getting in the new set here. So as you guys can tell from the pack art, of course, Pikachu VMAX is probably going to be one of the better cards. I'm not really sure what it does, even though it did get revealed a little bit early. But, that's kind of the fun of this. We'll have to see what this thing's going to be able to do. But anyway, so let's take a look. This looks like a decent amount of cards to go over. But just hopping right into the actual grass Pokemon here. So we got Shiftry. This is a card that did get revealed a little bit early, I do remember, but it has this ability. As long as this Pokemon is your active, the effect of each supporter card in your opponent's hand becomes draw 3 cards from your deck. And of course, it's attack, grass colors, 110. You may have your opponent switch their active with one of their bench Pokemon. So this ability has been, I've seen people talking about this. This, of course, is very interesting. You're turning all of your opponent's supporters into Hop effectively, which is kind of hilarious. So Boss's Orders is now just draw 3 cards. Professor's Research, just draw 3 cards. So I think this ability actually has a good bit of potential because, think of, I don't really have a specific deck in mind, but let's say you need to build up something safely on the bench that your opponent could otherwise easily disrupt with a Boss's Orders. You could theoretically hide behind Shifter here and turn this into like a pseudo Omega Barrier. Kind of like the effect Omega Barrier on things like Primal Groudon, etc. back from like the XY area to shut off those Boss's Orders. So that's something I could see a use for this for. Also, if Control ever sees play, being able to turn off those, disruptive supporter cards like Team Yell Grunt, or even though it's banned now, but Velvet Brassman, stuff like that, being able to shut those off is really important. So, I think this has potential just for the ability alone, but it's a stage 2, guys. That's kind of the downside to this, but I will say being a grass stage 2 is kind of like uniquely good compared to some of the other ones, just because you have the Rowlet Alolan Executor and you also have Decidueye. So I could actually, or not Decidueye, what am I talking about? Turffield Stadium. I don't know why I'm thinking about the Decidueye right now. But yeah, this actually could be good with the Rowlet Alolan Executor too, because even though it's a 3 prizer, once you use its first attack to evolve into Shiftry, it's going to be safe on the bench for the rest of the game. I just really wish this attack wasn't so horrible. So 2 for 110 is okay, but on a stage 2, it's like especially bad. And you may have your opponent switch their active one of their bench Pokemon. So that's fine, I guess. Yeah, so I think this card has potential. I'm really not sure what this is going to be partnered with. I think the Rowlet Alolan Executor seems cute to set it up, but I just don't know if you're winning by just doing 110 over and over. So seems like a cool card. Definitely want to keep your eye on. We have Ninjask. So let's see. Once during your turn, when you play this card from hand to evolve onto your Pokemon, you may search your deck for a Shedinja and put it on your bench. Then shuffle your deck. So we definitely need to check what Shedinja does. I believe it is a Psychic type. Well, actually, before we do that, let's see the attack on the... Okay, so just 30, heal 30. So it's god-awful attack. We're basically only playing it to get Shedinjas into play. So it can only be played with Ninjask's Shell Out ability, and this card can't even be put in play when setting up a match. Oh, it's a basic. That's really interesting. Typically, Shedinja's been a stage 1. This is very interesting to see. So it has this attack for 3 colors, put damage, counters on your opponent's active, till its remaining HP is 10. If this was actually like a stage 1, then yeah, maybe you would play this because you could use triple acceleration energy, but you can't even do that. So, like, what's the point? Like, I really don't understand the point of this. Like, I feel like if we're playing the Ninjask, we're probably playing it for a different Shedinja. Like, this one's just not. Like, this attack's just not good enough to jump through all of the hoops to play this thing. So that seems pretty bad. Not a big fan of that. Going back up to grass Pokemon, we got Go-Goat, pretty bad. Okay, but we do have our first VMAX line. We have the Orbeetle VMAX. Do like the art on this thing, looks kind of cool. So let's see, 20 switch with one of your bench Pokemon. Okay, it's not horrible. Then 50, 30 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it could be good against something like Centiskorch, but yeah, I mean, just generally speaking, this is going to be fine. Your average Pokemon's going to attack for 3 energy. So what, 90, so you're doing 140 a lot of the time. Not awful, I suppose. Yeah, so basically just playing it to evolve into Orbeetle, though. Oh, this guy looks sweet. I love the art on this card. I think this looks awesome. Let's see. So once during your turn before you attack, this Pokemon is your active. You may put 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm actually a big fan of the old Decidueye GX and a bunch of other similar cards to that over the years. I really like these styles of abilities, or actually probably more closely resembles the Chandelure from Noble Victory, is one of my favorite decks of all time. So I will definitely be experimenting with Orbeetle VMAX just because of this ability alone. But then let's see its attack. Grass color is 50. Does 50 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So just kind of a juiced up version of Orbeetle V. So the attack's fine. You're going to 2-shot most everything. The attack cost is a little bit... I mean, it's not like the end of the world. Having the colorless energy is kind of nice, kind of flexible, but... and I think a lot of the VMAXs up until now have been reliant on these double manual attachments. So this is probably actually perfectly acceptable energy cost. But the ability is really where I think this card gets a little bit interesting, because getting that extra chip damage in with these Orbeetle VMAXs is going to add up, especially if you're playing like a thick 4/4 line of this thing and you're just switching around a bunch. You're going to be able to eventually get a bunch of cheap prizes on things like Jirachis and all that. So in a way, this card reminds me a little bit of Dragapult in terms of, you know, what it's going for. You're a VMAX, kind of on the lower HP side of things. You have a 2 attachment attack cost. You're 2-shotting things while spreading damage in the process and taking cheap prizes. So yeah, this kind of does remind me of Dragapult in that way, just in terms of how the card's designed. But I think for building around this, probably, you know, I imagine 4 switches, you know, maybe even Bird Keepers, Mallow and Lana, Jirachis, Galarian Zigzagoon. I mean, I think that's kind of the deck right there, guys. And you're basically just trying to be very efficient where you're placing your damage counters and capitalizing on the very good switching supporters that we have in the format. So I actually like Orbeetle VMAX. I'm definitely going to be playing around with this. So knee-jerk reaction, card seems pretty good. So we got Charizard up next. This is another one that did get revealed early on. We'll put out Charmander has Collect, so that's a decent little pre-evolution attack. Always nice when the pre-evolutions are decent. So we got Charizard. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 3 cards. Put 1 in your hand, discard the other cards. Okay, so that's actually a pretty good ability we have on a Stage 2. You know, evolution Pokemon, especially Stage 2s, are just kind of clunky right now, and the game's just been in a very aggressive state for a while. You know, ever since Team Up, really. So having anything like this that is going to boost the consistency of your Stage 2 deck is going to be good. This can help set up your next Charizard, or, you know, just find whatever you might need for a turn. Then Keen Blaze, 2 fire does 100, plus 50 more for each Leon in your discard pile. Okay, so we'll have to go check out what Leon does, but my knee-jerk reaction, first of all, is the 2 fire attachment is actually kind of annoying here. So we might have to play Welder. And even though that seems like kind of like a weird thing to say, like, what do you mean you might have to play Welder? It's a fire deck. I really hate Welder in evolution decks, like Stage 2 decks specifically. Just because a lot of times you have a Welder and you're going to be forced to like Welder onto these low HP basics, and it's just, they can get bosses ordered up the next turn and you just lose all of that energy right away. So Yeah, the draw 3 and hitting a rare candy off a draw 3 just a lot of times isn't that great. So that's one thing I don't like about this already, but we'll have to see what Leon does. So if we have 4 Leons in the discard pile, that's a good bit of damage. It's 300. That's not enough to knock out VMAXs, which is kind of annoying, unfortunately. But, I mean, 300 for 2 on a 1 prizer, still pretty solid overall. But let's go check out what Leon does before we wrap up Charizard. And no doubt it's going to be here in the trainer cards. Okay, so this actually just kind of fixed a little bit of my complaints with this card. But during this turn, your Pokemon's attacks do 30 more to your opponent's active. So if you have all 4 Leons in discard pile, plus this, you can hit for 330, which is going to knock out like everything short of Eternatus. So that seems kind of cool. We'll come back to Leon. I just want to sort of talk about Charizard for the moment. So, I mean, I guess this seems okay. I'm not sure if I like this better than the Team Up Charizard, because the Team Up Charizard has like an unlimited damage cap already. But I really do like the ability on this thing. The ability is the really nice part of Charizard in particular, being able to, just sort of cycle through your deck, find those key resources you need to constantly set up your next stage too. So we'll have to experiment with Charizard. This card seems like it has some potential. Okay, so we have Flareon. This is actually pretty interesting. If this Pokemon has Memory Capsule attached to it, each player's grass Pokemon in play has no abilities. So I'm just going to go out on a limb here and assume that all of the evolutions have the same ability here, but for their like corresponding like type they hit for weakness, which is kind of cool. Now, the one thing I don't like about this card design in general is the fact that if you are a fire deck, you're already hitting grass for weakness. So it's like, do you really need to shut off grass abilities at that point? But more than likely, you're never going to attack with Flareon, so more than likely, it doesn't really matter, ultimately. But this is kind of cool. It's like a very select Garbotoxin. This almost like even kind of signals to me that Pokemon's like, hey, give up on a Garbotoxin reprint. We're not giving you that for a while, since this is like effectively the same thing for one specific type. So this is cool. Of course, you can shut off things like Decidueye, which has been an annoying Pokemon for certain decks in the Darkness Ablaze format, so that's cool. Other grass abilities, what we have Rillaboom in format, Eldegoss V, that's also good. So there's definitely some grass Pokemon worth shutting off. I mean, this ability on all these evolutions, I'm assuming, like I said, that they're all going to be effectively the same, is only going to be as good as the quality of abilities that are worth shutting off. So like I said, if your deck just loses to... Oh, no, but the issue is you need Memory Capsule in your deck, so you have to be a deck that already wants to play that. If I remember correctly, it's basically just like Memory Energy, but in like a tool card form. Okay, yeah, so it's a tool card, lets you use your attacks from your previous evolution. So this is something we'll actually try to keep in mind, best as we can while looking through this set as well, especially on our VMAXs. So you have to be a deck that wants to play this to begin with. That makes Flareon and all these cards a little bit more select, so in their use. So I'm not sold on this. The fact that it needs Memory Capsule is annoying, so we'll have to be on the lookout for, like, if you're a deck that's already going to play Memory Capsule, like, and you have the space, you might play these, but otherwise might just be too much to ask for to shut off these grass abilities. So Cargo, nothing special there. We got Talonflame V. This one actually did get revealed ahead of time too. It was one of like the final cards that got revealed preemptively. And this card's actually pretty good from what I remember. So 190 HP, free retreat, really good here. I really like that a lot. Lightning weakness is also cool because, fire decks are weak to water, and this gives you some additional sort of type coverage if, lightning does start to become more if water does start to become more popular. But I really like this first attack here for a colorless energy. If you go first, you can use this attack even on your first turn, then discard your hand, draw 6. So if you are a welder deck and your opponent wins the coin flip, makes you go first, which you usually want to go second, you still have an out to sort of getting set up even when you're stuck on the first turn. And I do like this as well because it's a colorless energy, which means it is going to be splashable in other decks as well. Now, The one thing about this, it will have to compete with something like Zacian, and I feel like I almost feel like Zacian's probably just better, like for non-fire decks specifically, because Zacian is just an ability. You can use it on the bench, doesn't require your attachment for turn. So I think for fire decks, this is going to be better. But if you are a non-fire deck, Zacian's probably still going to be the way to go. But then its other attack, 160 for 3 discard energy. Perfectly fine attack. It's going to be able to be powered up with Welder. 160 is also a good number because you can two-shot all of the VMAXs in the game. Outside of like something like Eternatus, which is sort of the exception, not the rule. Hitting 320s, more so the important number we really want to be hitting. So overall, I think Talonflame's a pretty solid card. So we have Vaporeon. Okay, so yeah, same thing here. We can shout fire abilities. If we have Memory Capsule, again, guys, we have to be a deck that's already playing Memory Capsule, I feel like. Otherwise, these cards are a lot to ask for. You need a stage 1, and then you need a tool card that's irrelevant for the rest of your deck. So that's going to be a hard sell. We'll have to keep, like I said, guys, we'll have to keep our eye out for other cards that might abuse Memory Capsule in this set that might sort of change my mind on these cards. So we have Wailord. Only coming in at 200 HP. For whatever reason, I expected this to have more HP, just being Wailord. I mean, 200 is still a lot on a 1-prizer. Don't get me wrong, but for some reason, I expected this to be like a bit higher. But here it says, whenever you attach a water from hand, heal all special conditions. Not very good. And then 10 plus 40 for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. So if we fulfill the base attack cost, that's what, 130 for 4? Yeah, that feels pretty awful. Not a big fan of this one. Yeah, so probably going to pass on Wailord. We have Samurott. Haven't seen Samurott in actually quite some time as well. Really do like the art on this thing. Looks very, very solid. So see, this Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks after applying weakness and resistance. So effectively 190 HP. That's pretty cool. I like that. Lightning also more recently not been the best, but I mean the set is called Shocking Volt Tackle, so that could definitely change. But as for the moment, at the time of filming, Lightning weakness is not too important. But its attack, Water 2 Colorist, 120. You may return 2 energy cards from your opponent's active to your opponent's hand. Well, okay. That's kind of cool. But so there's already a Lapras in format that does this same thing. Now, to be fair, Lapras only hits for 70 and it needs 1 more energy. But Lapras is a basic, which takes up significantly less deck space. And an issue I have with Samurott here is it needs 2 manual attachments to get up and running. Like, yeah, you can play Frostmoth, but you're a stage 2 deck. You're already going to be playing your Samurott line. You probably are playing some copies of something like Jirachi if you do decide to help get set up. So I just don't see you having the deck space to play a stage 1 like that. So more than likely, you're just going in with your water energies and your twin energies, and that's probably kind of bad. 120, I mean, it's an okay amount of damage, but for a stage 2 for 3 energy, not a big fan of this. Like I said, if we are dead set on returning energy to our opponent's hand, I think I would rather just play the Lapras just because it's easier to get up and running, even though it does hit for only 70 and takes another energy. I think more consistently you can get that powered up. So yeah, this card's like almost good. If this was just twin energy, I would say this is actually probably a solid stage 2. But the fact that you have to have this water energy, nah, Samurott's probably not going to be good. So you have Gallerian Darmanitan V and VMAX. Let's check out this guy. So 50 paralysis on coin flip, it's whatever. Then 190, 32 itself. Also, nothing spectacular. Okay, so let's see. 4 water, so no doubt we're playing this with Frostmoth. That seems like almost like a given here. But 200 does 30 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Seems bad. Can't say I'm a fan. 200 for 4 is so bad. Like, I feel like I can use this comparison in a lot of our set reviews in these first impressions video, but Zacian is a basic Pokemon. Only gives up 2 prizes. Does 230 for 3 and has an item-based form of energy acceleration. Like, on what planet are we ever playing this? This is so god-awful. And it's weak to Zacian. Oh, yeah, this card... Yeah, this is an absolute hard pass. This seems god-awful. Sorry, Darmanitan. Which sucks, because this is actually, I think, one of the more interesting Gallerian forms. Just not the best card. Alright. So, let's see here. We have Dreadnought. I do kind of like the art on this. It's a very unique art style. Like, kind of cool. So 80, if you played Nessa from hand during your turn, your opponent's active is now paralyzed. Okay, auto paralysis is something that's actually pretty good. Now, I will say this, I don't know what Nessa does. We will have to check on that. But also too, switching cards are just so prevalent in the game right now. Like, I feel like most decks are playing for switch. Like, whether you're a Jirachi deck or just a normal like Zacian deck with things like Dedenes and Eldegoss's, no Jirachi engine, you're playing Force Switch in that. If you're a fire deck, you're playing Force Switch. So I'm actually not sure how strong paralysis is right now, just as a status condition. But auto paralysis in general is, just in a general sense, one of the stronger sort of effects we could maybe have. So let's actually check on Nessa real quick. Let's see, where is she? Okay, choose up to any 4 combination of water Pokemon, water energy from discard, put them into your hand. So this is actually, it's an okay supporter on its own, but it doesn't really do anything to help us out for our theoretical Dreadnought deck. I guess if we're playing this with Frostmoth, this does kind of help you a little bit because, of course, Frostmoth, of course, you want to get energy back to attach with Frostmoth, but yeah, not too impressed with that one, unfortunately. Next, we have Cramorant and Arrokuda. This is definitely, these are some of the more early cards that did get revealed, I do remember. So, Cramorant here, you may discard any number of Arrokuda from your bench, and it does 60 more for each Arrokuda you discarded in this way, which is kind of cool. So, Nessa actually does kind of pair well with that as well. So, that's something that is a nice, but yeah, so if we discard 4 Arrokuda, we can do 240. That's really solid, I think, overall. For just one twin energy, that's pretty cool. We'll probably play this with like Cocoa Prism and some Lightnings as well to maybe cheat. Have another way at getting this thing powered up in one turn. So I think it's actually an okay little one prizer we have here. Arrokuda actually not too horrible either. So as you can see, you can search your deck for 2 Arrokuda, put them on your bench, shuffle your decks. That's actually really cool. I really like this little one prize deck. It has a lot of deck space to work with as well in terms of how you want to build around this, because right now your only deck space is what, 4 of these, 4 twin energy, and some copies of Nessa probably. So yeah, we might yeah, I'd have to just sort of comb through the card pool and see what we want to pair with this. But like I said, I kind of like this little package here. I think this is a cool deck. The issue is ADP is just going to annihilate a deck like this. So this might be gate kept by ADP. But I actually do like this. I think this is a cool little combo we have here. We have, let's check out Barraskewda as well, since we are talking about the Arrokuda. So you just, okay, this is actually kind of a decent attack. You choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, 20 for each damage counter already on it. So this is a good little finishing Pokemon if we do need it. I kind of like that. Other attack, not great. But yeah, the Arrokuda and Cramorant are definitely the more interesting ones to look at here. But yeah, we'll definitely end up covering this deck on the channel at some point. Like I said, have to put more thought into how we're actually going to build around it though. Okay, so next up we have the mascot of the set. We got Pikachu VMAX. I'm expecting this to be pretty good. Let's see, Pikachu V here. Search your deck for 2 lightning, attach them to his Pokemon. Hey, that is a solid attack for sure. Especially since we did lose Thunder Mountain in the rotation. So getting our lightning Pokemon powered up is definitely going to be very valuable here. That's other attack here for 200. Discard all energy from this Pokemon. So that's also kind of fine. Unfortunately, we did lose E-Power. Otherwise, you could just go 230 for 3 and knock out Zacian. But nevertheless, powers itself up. The first attack is really the reason I think we would be excited for Pikachu. And then we have, of course, Pikachu V-Max. Let's see. You may discard all energy attached to this Pokemon. If you do, does 150 more damage. So 270, that's a good number to knock out Mewtwo Mew as an example, but 270 is sort of progressively less important because, you know, just tag teams are going to just gradually see less play as more and more of these VMAXs get printed and the regular Pokemon Vs sort of outclass the tag teams, like in value, in terms of like, you can do almost as much with a 2-prizer V as you can with a 3-prizer tag team. So the 270 number in particular is not too great. I don't know if we actually have a good way of hitting, like scaling this up to hitting the 320, 330, 340 range. So honestly, Pikachu doesn't seem that great despite being a mascot. Like, it's not a horrible card by any means. Like, Pikachu powers itself up. We still have Coco Prism as well, but maybe I'm blanking on something. But you know, for the moment, 270 it's fine, but it's just nothing particularly groundbreaking. So we have Electrode. Electrode, I haven't read this yet, but I'm assuming it's just going to knock itself out in some capacity. So let's see. Buzz App Generator. This Pokemon is on your bench. You may knock it out. If you do, search your deck for 2 lightning energy, attach them to your Pokemon any way that you like. So this is actually a really cool card. I actually really do like Electrode, especially for like your 2 and 3 prize decks. A lot of times, as we've seen with like Miss Magius variants or even like the Magneton decks, like with tag teams, a lot of times when you knock out these 1-prizers, it doesn't even affect your opponent's ability to win the game, because if you're just playing a 3-prize deck anyways, they still have to knock out 2 tag teams or 2 VMAXs, whatever it might be, regardless if they get an easy prize off of this. So I actually really do like this ability. I think this has some potential. Of course, we did lose Thunder Mountain, so this could be another alternate way to get our lightning Pokemon powered up a little bit more. Probably play this with Boltund. That seems like it would make the most sense, I'd have to say. Because Boltund, you know, it lost Electro Power as well. Lost Zeraora GX, so it lost definitely some ways of getting energy into play. But between this and its first attack, you know, maybe we could see a designated like Boltund V deck. We'll have to see. But I do like Electro. I think this is actually one of the better cards we've seen so far. We got Jolteon here. Shutting off abilities for water Pokemon. So again, guys, we just have to keep in mind the memory capsule card and see if there's any cards we want to play that with. So you have Zapdos. Pretty dope art on this, I will have to say. So let's see, 20 for 1. Fine, whatever. But then it's other attack. Discard all energy attached to this Pokemon. If you do, does 160 to one of your opponent's Pokemon V or Pokemon GX. So I really like that we're getting a little bit of Pokemon V/GX hate. And, you know, being able to do 160, pretty good. Of course, we can knock out Denes. That's going to be the big one here. So, of course, we can maybe play this in Pikarom or like a Boltund deck or any deck that plays the Electrode. So I have to say, I do think Zapdos is actually a pretty decent little one-of. We will probably see pop up. You know, if Lightning decks do, you know, continue to see some play, or start to see some play, I should say, since they've sort of taken a hit in the rotation. But Zapdos seems like a solid little card. I do like this one. We have Zebstrika, nothing to see here. Let's see, Tynamo, as long as it has energy, has no retreat cost. Let's see. Okay, so we got Electros. Let's see this guy. So 60 during your opponent's next turn. If your opponent attached an energy from their hand to the defending Pokemon, place 6 damage counters on that Pokemon. That's kind of okay. 60 for 1's not horrible. But on a stage 2, not that great. Especially without Electric Power now. So actually, yeah, probably not that good. I wish this was attach energy to one of their Pokemon, not just the defending Pokemon, because if they switch or just attach to the bench, whatever it might be, it's going to allow them to play around that. So that seems bad. And then 120 does 30 to one of your bench Pokemon, does 30 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So pretty bad card. And we got the homie Alakazam V. Really excited to see Alakazam. This was definitely a Pokemon I was very surprised skipped the tag team mechanic, because As probably some of you know, the Kadabra Pokemon is not allowed to be printed for like legal reasons in the TCG. I know it's a really weird thing. You can look up the whole story if you want to learn more about it. But Alakazam, of course, is still allowed to be printed, and tag teams were all basic. So I was really bummed that we never saw Alakazam. And so happy to see him come back as a Pokemon V. Definitely a Pokemon that I think a lot of people like. Good to see him get shown some love here in the TCG again. Let's see, put 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon any way that you like. All right, and then 30 times the amount of cards in your opponent's hand. So if your opponent, let's just say they have a 6-card hand, was that 180? Doesn't seem like that great of a card, I hate to say, which is unfortunate because Alakazam, again, never sort of pops up. Yeah, I'm not particularly crazy about our homie Alakazam. This definitely feels kind of bad. I mean, I'm trying to think of, are there any decks that are reliant on just expanding their hand size like this? I mean, this would have hit like a truck against something like Zoroark back in the day, but I just don't think we have anything like that. I mean, I could be blanking, guys, but most decks are just going to discard their hand, draw 7. They're not playing things like Hop or other cards that add onto their hand size like that. Like Cincino is really only seen play in control decks for the most part. So yeah, not crazy about Alakazam. But if nothing else, happy to see him at least get some representation as a card again. So we have Dusknoir here. Another card that got revealed alongside, I believe it was Shiftry. But as long as Pokemon is in play, special energy cards attached to each player's Pokemon have no effect and now provide a 1 colorless energy. So this is actually, I think, a pretty solid ability. I think this is, what, isn't this the same as, was it Crystal Beach? It's an old card from like the old EX era, like the 2000, like 6, 7 sort of state of the game. I think that was the card. I'm blanking, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Crystal Beach was the stadium that had this effect. But yeah, this is definitely a solid ability, turning something like Speed Lightning Energy, Heat Fire Energy, Twin Energy, whatever it might be, into just a generic colorless energy. Pretty good. Now, I'm not sure what deck is actually finding the space to play something like Dusknoir in. Like, I don't know what special energy is so like widespread and dominating that we would play this. Like if we were in a format with something like Zoroark GX, again, where people were literally like calling for the ban of double colorless energy, you would maybe have seen something like this as a potential option to combat against those strategies. But I don't think we have a special energy right now that's quite like that in terms of how dominant and widespread it is in terms of seeing play. So I think this is a good ability. I'm just not sure what deck is going through the massive hassle of finding the space for this. That's the issue, I think. So good ability. This is a card I would definitely have on hand, probably pick up copies of, but yeah, for the moment, I'm not completely sold on its immediate viability. So we have Chime Echo. So search your deck for a Pokemon and a supporter card, reveal and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Then 30 Asleep, nothing too great. Let's see. What is Woobat here? 30 each of your opponent's Pokemon. You can't use this attack if you have any cards in your hand. Whoa. That's a very interesting attack here. Let's see, we have Whimsicott. Okay, so you may discard as many tool cards from your Pokemon as you like. This does 40 more for each Pokemon tool you discarded in this way. Okay, so it's basically like the old Gourgeist, which I was actually a big fan of. I really enjoyed the Gourgeist deck. I think this was actually the same damage output as well, which actually would be a little bit concerning since HPs have increased massively since when that card came out. But that's cool. First, a single Psychic Energy. It means we can play the Horror Psychic Energy if we do want to. You know, increase their damage output a little bit more. Free Retreat, also nice on the card. I will point that out. So do we... I mean, we lost Genesect GX in the rotation, so we can't play that. So if we discard 6 tool cards, I mean, it's 250. I mean, that's actually that's actually a little bit better than I thought. Yeah, so we probably play this with the, what is it? Oh, there's a Greedent. It'll allow you to search your deck for Pokemon tool cards, so probably just play that with that, call it a day. That seems like honestly kind of a decent little deck there. Does 40 more for each Pokemon tool you discard. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Now, we don't really have any good tool recovery in the format that I can recall. We have Lana's Fishing Rod, so we'll probably just play that. But, I mean, I guess we really only need to use this attack like 3 times max against most decks to win. So I think this card has potential. I like the... yeah, I think I do like Whimsicott here. So we have Alchemy. Once during your turn, when you play this card for... Wait, when you play this card from your hand to evolve Pokemon, you may have each player draw 1 card. Okay, so you could... I guess you could play this with Alakazam if you really want to make your opponent try to draw a card, but... I really don't like this being a coming into playability. I wish this was like a once per turn effect, because we've had Pokemon like of the past, like Slurpuff, where it's just like, hey, draw a card once per turn. If it's your active, in the case of Slurpuff, you get to draw 2. So I see no reason why this shouldn't be the same thing. Now again, you can use Scoop Up Net if you want to reuse this, but yeah, this really should have been a once per turn effect. Not a big fan of the card design of this thing. So not super sold on this. So we have Machamp here. Pretty cool art. I've been saying that about a lot of cards in here. And I'm generally a fan of the art in this set, it seems like. 170 HP on Machamp. That's pretty good. I think that's the highest HP we've seen on Machamp up until this point. Let's see. 20 times the amount of fighting Pokemon in your discard pile. Okay. That's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's not the best either, because like something like Vespiquen of the past is 10 plus 20, right? Or is it 20 plus 10? Oh god, it's been so long. I've now forgotten what Vespiquen does. So my point is though, man, that's gonna bug me. Oh my god. I'm gonna say it's 20 plus 10. Final answer. That God, I can't believe it's been that long. Vespiquen came out. Ancient Origins. Flareon was the same way. I forget, guys. I'm actually going to double check that as soon as I get done recording this video. I'm really bummed I've now gotten to the point where I forgot what Vespiquen does. But overarching point, we've had a lot of cards like this in the past, but this is a stage 2, which feels kind of bad. But, I mean, let's just run through the math. We have 10 fighting Pokemon in the discard pile. That's 200. But again, we need Pokemon in play too. Like, realistically, I think we're playing probably close to, like, what, almost 30 Pokemon, really? Because you're going to need not only Pokemon in your discard pile, but you still need Pokemon on your bench and in play so you don't get benched out. And they need to be fighting Pokemon in particular. Ugh, that just seems so rough. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Machamp. I'm going to have to pass on this one, I think. So we have Donphan. And okay. Okay, we have a good one prizer, I think. So for 1 fighting energy, it does 120, and it does 20 to each of your bench Pokemon. So the 20 to each of our own bench Pokemon. I'm not too stressed about that in particular. But... yeah, this is actually, it's kind of funny because I remember when Donphan from Heart Gold Soul Silver came out, it had a very similar attack. It was 60 for 1 and did 10 to your bench. And people were like, 60 for 1 on a stage 1, that's so good. And now we've literally doubled how good Donphan is. So I think it's actually a solid little attack. It's unfortunate we did lose Diancie in the rotation, but we do still have Martial Arts Dojo because 120 plus the 40 buff is 160. And of course, guys, you know, that's kind of like the magic number right now to 2-shot VMAXs. So I do like Donphan here. This seems okay. I will probably experiment with this in some capacity. And we do have Fampi as well. I will point out, says 30 times the amount of damage counters on this Pokemon. So this might be a potential memory capsule target. Because we're already spreading damage counters to our Pokemon anyways. So that seems like something to consider. So maybe we're playing this in our Evolutions like ability lock deck, I guess. This has probably been our best contender so far, I do have to say. So 120 for 1 seems okay. Considering the damage modifiers and support that exists for fighting Pokemon. So seems like an okay card, but again, I just keep coming back. ADP is probably going to make sure this never sees play. So we'll see. Has potential at the very least, though. Hitmontop. Discard, draw 3, okay attack. And then if you played B from your hand during your turn, does 80 more damage. So let's see what B does, or Bia. Let's see, discard the top 5 cards of your deck. Attach all energy cards discarded in this way to your bench fighting Pokemon any way that you like. Well, that's pretty interesting. That actually could help our Hitmontop get powered up. We'll come back to this one in a bit, but we're just going to concentrate on Hitmontop for the moment. Where is it? There it is. I mean, already, you can already get this thing powered up probably pretty decently without that, but it's kind of nice that you have the extra help. So, I mean, even without that supporter, you still have Karate Belt plus Twin Energy, but you, I guess, technically need Bia or B, however you pronounce it, to get the 80 damage buff. But I think we'd rather just play Donphan. It's 120 for 1 compared to 130 for 3 with a very strict sort of effect here like this. So probably not good. Ooh, so we got Terrakion. 30 and 30 reduction, and then 80 plus 80 more if there's a stadium. For 3 energy, yeah, probably not good. Though I should say, for fighting Pokemon, I guess we should keep in mind we do have that new supporter, so that we can more easily power up these sorts of cards. We have Mudsdale. See, 180 minus. Reduced by 30 for each energy your opponent's active retreat cost. That's really annoying. I mean, if we're getting 3 energy, like 3 manual attachments on a stage 1, and we're not even hitting 180, yeah, come on. That's like almost disrespectful for Mudsdale for them to put this weird, like bonus damage reduction effect here. So you have another Grapplock. Man, I feel like they've been really pushing Grapplock hard in the TCG. We have this. We have the Grapplock V coming out in Champions Path as well. So, yeah, a lot of love for Grapplocked. Let's see, 30, can't retreat. Then if it used Headlock, does additional 120. Probably not good. These sort of attacks you have to chain back to back. Not too great traditionally, so not a big fan. So we do have Gallerian Surfetch. This was one of the cards that did get revealed ahead of time. And I believe this did get its own box release. So if I'm not mistaken, this is coming out just as a promo box you can get. But let's see. Once during your turn, when this Pokemon moves from your bench to the active, you can move any fighting Pokemon, or I'm sorry, fighting energy from your other Pokemon to it. So it's basically just Heatran's ability, which is definitely good. But then 3 for 200, and it can't attack again. Yeah, the issue with this compared to Heatran has a very, very good sort of like, you know, big nuking attack with Hot Burn GX, I think is the name of it. Whereas Surfetch doesn't. I mean, 200's okay, but you're not even knocking out like Zacians or like basic Pokemon V. So if this was 220, I would be more excited about. But the fact that it's 200 is a bit of a bummer. But I mean, I guess you do have Dojo and like Galarian Zigzagoon, stuff like that. So I don't know. This is definitely a card I could see seeing play just because of this ability. In decks that do play a good bit of fighting energy, or like a lot of decks with Aurora energy, I could see this being a a Pokemon to maybe play as a one of, just to have some different type coverage. So got some degree of potential. Let's see, we have Mightyena. Probably is going to be a bad card. Mightyena never gets good cards for whatever reason. Yep, bad as usual. One of these days we're going to get a good Mightyena. I don't know when, but one of these days we will. So we have Sableye. Let's see, can't use an attack next turn, not too good. We got Drapion V. Let's see. So rack down for 70, then 130. Discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. Leave your opponent's active, poisoned, and paralyzed. You know, 130 for 4 is just not good enough, guys. Well, I'll say this. It's basically 140 once you factor in the poison. And I guess you do have Toxicroak if you want to, like, creep that up a little bit higher. But, yeah, I'm not a big fan of this, though. I guess you could play Welder. That's an easy way to get this thing powered up. But I think if we're playing something like this, I think I'd rather just play Torkoal V. Because, well, the reason for that is they both have sort of this mediocre damage output that's only effectively 20 damage apart. And basically, you're using the secondary effect to prevent your opponent from attacking on the following turn, essentially. And Torkoal discards 2 energy and has no downside for you. And is also a fire Pokemon, so it doesn't need like multi-energy types. So I think this is probably just worse than Torkoal V in the context of like a Welder deck. So not too crazy about Drapion. Let's see, we have Crocodile. Discard 3 from top of your opponent's deck. It's actually kind of cool. Like, not from a competitive standpoint, but just from like a design standpoint, it's kind of cool. Sandile has the 4 energy attack cost to discard 3. As you evolve, it gradually gets lower and lower. So that's kind of a cool way they designed this like evolution family. But again, from a competitive standpoint, this is not too good. I really wish the effect would have scaled up as well. Like discarding 3, not too good. I think I'd rather play the Toxtricity deck, which we posted a video of not too long ago if you want to check that out as well. It's a stage 1, generally is going to work a little bit better than this. So probably a pass for me. So we have a Trubbish here and a new Garbodor. Okay, Trubbish actually has a decent little attack here for a twin energy. Effectively search your deck for an item card. Then we have Garbodor. Now Garbodor historically has gotten really good cards in the TCG, so let's see what this one does. Garb Cyclone does 30 times the amount of Pokemon tool cards in your discard pile, then shuffle them into your deck. Okay, so this is our partner for the Whimsicott deck. So we're basically going to be playing probably Greedent, Whimsicott, and Garbodor. They all seem pretty solid for the deck. Yes, that's definitely pretty good. You know, towards the end of the game, this is probably going to be like your finisher. Like, more than likely, you're going to be playing like a thicker 3-3, 4-4 line of the Whimsicott, and probably only playing like a 2-2 of Garbodor, because you want to come in and use this once, you know, once you've been discarding all of your tools throughout the course of a game. But I mean, I could also see a world where you're just researching them away as well and trying to get them back that way. So maybe you're just going all in on Garbodor and with twin energies and triple acceleration. So I think you actually could probably play this as its own deck or as a backup attacker for the Whimsicott deck. So I like both the Whimsicott and the Garbodor. I think they're both pretty cool little one prizers. We'll have to see what happens with them. But I do actually like this evolution line. Trubbish also has a solid attack as well. So keep your eyes peeled for these. They are pretty decent. So you have another Gallerian Berserker. Definitely one of the better arts we've seen. I think this looks really good. So you have Plunder Claw, 20, flip 3 coins. If you flipped at least heads, or at least one head, your opponent reveals their hand. For each heads, discard a trainer card you find there. So that's actually not a horrible attack. So of course you can play this with the other Berserker to increase your damage output, but I think we're probably just a little, you know, probably just hitting for a little too little here overall. Like 20 is just kind of bad. If this was like 50 for 1, or even Nah, this would have to be like bare minimum 60. Bare minimum, because we could scale our damage output up a little bit more with the other Berserkers, but choosing what you're discarding is actually pretty good. So maybe there is a world where you're trying to just control your opponent's hand with this thing. I'm trying to think what else we play this with. I mean, yeah, I'm just not sure offhand. Like Jesse and James, maybe. I don't know. Doesn't seem that good. Definitely a cool effect, and the fact that it's only 1 energy is nice, but I think it just hits for far too low for us to really consider this. So let's see. Excadrill doesn't seem too good. Ferrothorn, let's see. 30 times the amount of metal energy on this Pokemon. Then switch it with one of your bench Pokemon. So I don't think this card is good, but I do kind of like how it's designed. Because you can dump like a mountain of metal energy on this thing, and then the downside normally would be it only has 110 HP, so it's just going to get knocked out and you lose all your energy. But if you put it on the bench, all that energy is going to be safe. So maybe you actually play this with I feel like you don't have the deck space for this, but this actually would be good with Shiftry, just because you could promote Shiftry. After you use this, they can't boss this thing up and eliminate all of your energy from play. So that actually seems kind of cute. I don't know if you can actually pull that off. Let's actually check Shiftry's retreat cost. That's actually kind of important if we're gonna like entertain this idea. It needs to be it's 3, which definitely a bummer. Yeah, so we can't even put down like an air balloon retreat. So yeah, that idea is gone. So Ferrothorn's probably just trash. Okay, next up we have Aegislash V and VMAX. I did see these get revealed, and I was actually not very happy about Aegislash V in particular. So Aegislash has this second attack, does 130, and you ignore all effects on your opponent's active when doing this damage. So, I mean, we have Decidueye right now in the format. Not even like a tier 1 deck, but it's like one of the only like anti-meta decks that we have right now. And the fact that now ADP can easily just throw this in their deck, buff it to 160, and like just hit in like through your Gallerian Obstagoons or your Decidueyes, whoever it might be, is so annoying. I really can't stand that they printed this card. Well, I'll say this. I'm more annoyed by the fact that this exists in the same format as ADP. Like if this was just printed on its own in a format without ADP, I wouldn't even care. I would say that's a solid attack, you know, but I'm not like annoyed by the fact that it exists. So yeah, this attack is good though, especially since we do have ADP. So if we do see more of these like Pokemon V-Max hate cards, Aegislash can just hit right through it, which is, I guess, good for your big basic glue eater decks, but for all of the stage 2 and anti-meta decks out there, this is definitely a card they don't like to see. Especially, like I said, since ADP will exist in the same format as this, and they exist on the same energy type. So this is definitely a solid little metal Pokemon we have here. We also do have Aegislash V-Max. Let's see what this one does. So this 30 more for each prize card you've taken. All right, so if we have taken 5 prizes, we're hitting 310. Doesn't seem that good. Because I guess we could still scale that up to hit for one-shots with things like Gallerian Berserker, Zigzagoon pings, etc. Yeah, overall, like, I mean, it's just another VMAX that hit that 2-shot stuff for like a reasonable amount of energy. Like, I don't know about you guys, it seems like almost all the VMAXs are like the same card, but just reskinned with different energy requirements. I think like Centiskorch kind of breaks that mold a little bit. Eternus kind of does, but generally speaking, like most of the VMAXs, largely speaking, are just, hey, we're just going to do 160 plus a slightly higher amount of damage that can knock out tag teams. So Aegislash just another one that sort of fits that mold, but I think the Aegislash V is the more interesting out of the 2 that we have, for sure. Another Duraludon, man. This is another Pokemon they are showing a lot of love so far in the Sword and Shield era of the game. So let's see, it's 20 plus 10 or more for each damage counter on this Pokemon. Okay, it's basically just the old Outrage attack from the old like Kyurem, Reshiram, and Zekrom, which is kind of cool to see on another Dragon Pokemon, 130 HP Pokemon. That's kind of cool. Same attack cost. And then 120 discard energy, so, you know, it's kind of whatever. I'm not too blown away by this. So we have Snorlax up next. Alright, so once during your turn, if this Pokemon is active, you may draw cards until you have 7 cards in your hand. If you do, your turn ends. Okay. Now this is a card. I always check its other attack here. For 4, does 100. Paralysis on a coin flip. Nothing special, but this first attack is actually, ability, is actually really solid. This is basically just Tropical Beach in ability form. It does have to be your active, which is definitely a little bit more of a nuisance, but, you know, if we're playing Snorlax, we're probably playing a high amount of switching cards already due to its high retreat cost or scoop up net. So more than likely, I think we can get this in the active. We're probably playing 4. So this could actually sort of compete with cards like Jirachi or Zacian as like your like starter Pokemon that are aimed to help you get set up. So I actually do like Snorlax. What deck are we playing this in? I don't exactly know offhand, but the fact this is a 1 prizer is something I really do like about this compared to Zacian, which is a 2 prizer, especially for like 1 prize decks in particular. Snorlax seems a little bit better since, you know, we can lead with this and it doesn't give up 2 prizes like something like Zacian. So I do like Snorlax. Again, what deck this goes in, I really couldn't tell you offhand, guys. But this could fill that role that Zacian did in some of the other evolution decks that have, you know, been running around up until this point. So I'm definitely curious to experiment with this. I'm just not sure in what capacity, like what deck I'm playing this in, but I do like this ability a lot, though. So we have Swellow. 2 energy from discard, do bench Pokemon. Not great for a stage 1. If this was a basic, I would like this attack, but it is not. So we have, let's see. Oh, we have the return of Round. So Loudred and Expelled both have Round. Expelled 50 more for each Pokemon you have in play with the Round attack. Okay, so we've had like a Round sort of archetype in the past. There was like the old, was it Wigglytuff from Next Destinies? And was it Seismitoad from Noble Victories? Deck never really took off, but we'll have to sort of comb through the card pool here and see if the Exploud deck has any good partners. I mean, let's see. Yeah, if we have a full bench of Pokemon with Round, that is 300. I think the thing we'll need to look out for is, are there any basic Pokemon with Round? Because that's really going to be the tricky part. We're going to want to evolve into Exploud, then get those basic Pokemon that are easy to populate our bench with in play. So let's see. Yeah, so these are the only Pokemon with Round in the set. We'll have to comb through the card pool. Let's see if there's anything else. You know, in our set review, I'll comb through the card pool a bit more, but for the moment, not too excited about this, but you know, we have Twin Energy, we have Triple Acceleration. If there are some good basic Pokemon that can also especially use Twin Energy, that's something we might have to look out for. That's going to be all of the Pokemon. See, Drone Rotom, look at your opponent's hand. Look at the top card from your opponent's deck. Yeah, not very good. Telephoto Scope. This is a card that did get revealed ahead of time. Pretty good from what I remember. Yeah, the attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to just 30 more damage to your opponent's benched Pokemon V and GX. So it's kind of like Choice Band, but only for bench damage. But hey, any Pokemon GX and V hate we can get right now, I'm definitely a fan of. So I definitely like this. You could, like, I'm actually kind of thinking like Weezing. That honestly doesn't seem horrible. Like any spread deck seems pretty good with something like this. But even other things like with Mewtwo Mew, you can now use Venom Shot with Naganadel GX to knock out Crobats in Eldegoss, which is also pretty cool. So any sort of spread deck is definitely going to like this. Also, of course, Cramorant can now get buffed to one-shot Eldegoss and Crobat. So yeah, I think this card is pretty solid. We'll have to come through the card pool, see what all of our best spreading options are, because there very well could be like decent spreaders in the format that are just like slightly below the damage output they need to be at. But I do like this card. I think this is a solid little tool card for spread decks. So of course we looked at Memory Capsule, and guys, this is another one of those cards that we are going to have to just kind of like look through the card pool and see what is going to be best with this. Like I said, the Dawn Fan in the set is probably our best option for the moment. And actually too, now I'm thinking about it, there is a Dawn Fan. I'll have to check on this. It was either Lost Thunder or Unbroken Bonds, or maybe it was Team Up. It's one of those 3 sets where it had the sturdy ability. So if that's still legal, this could be potentially a good card for that. But yeah, in our full set review, I'm going to do a little bit more digging and seeing what has potential with this. But this seems like a cool card. Memory Energy has seen play and expanded. Things like Shining Celebi and Celebi EX of the past have also seen play. So there's precedent for this to actually be kind of decent. So I do like this as well. So we got Bia. Discard the top 5 cards of your deck. Attach all energy cards discarded in this way to your bench fighting Pokemon any way that you like. So yeah, I'm actually a fan of this. Fighting is always historically one of those types that just kind of struggles with energy acceleration. Like, yeah, I know we have Colossal right now, but Colossal is a stage 2, guys, and it only accelerates 1 fighting energy. So anything that helps fighting for energy acceleration is definitely a good thing. It's almost kind of like End's Resolve, but of course for fighting Pokemon rather than Dragon. But yeah, I think this card's pretty cool. We'll have to basically, anytime we see fighting Pokemon from here on out, we have to keep this card in mind to see if we can maybe help power it up a little bit easier. So Leon, we already saw this. I think Leon's actually a solid card, even outside of the Charizard deck, just because we have Eldegoss in format and Mewtwo, of course, to reuse these sort of techie supporters. But the 30 buff is definitely really good. That is going to frequently make the difference between a 2-shot and a 1-shot in many instances. So I think a lot of decks will find themselves playing one Leon, depending on the math that they need to be hitting against certain archetypes out there. So, I mean, what's crazy now with this and ADP, Gyrosean can now hit 290, which is cool. You can knock out tag teams in 1 shot with Gyrosean, which is crazy. But yeah, I think Leon's a solid card. Again, this is another one of those cards, guys. Like I said, it just depends. What are the popular numbers that decks are hitting, and what are the popular HP of the most prevalent decks in the format? And that will sort of dictate how this card will see play. But Choice Band saw play in the past, Muscle Band saw play in the past. I know this is a supporter. It makes it inherently harder to use, but I still think its effect is pretty good. We have Leak Staff, draw 2, but if Wyndham Stadium is in play, draw 2 more. So let's check out Wyndham Stadium really quick. Okay, so whenever a player plays a VMAX from their hand during their turn to evolve their Pokemon V, heal 100 damage from that Pokemon. That's like not horrible, but my issue is I'm probably not attacking with my Pokemon V. Like if it's a deck where the V evolves into a VMAX, I'm probably just going to keep them on the bench and let my Jirachi or whatever it is get knocked out in the active spot instead. So I'm not crazy about this, and as a result, I'm not crazy about League Staff. Now, if there was a deck where this made sense here, League Staff isn't bad. I think draw 4 is actually okay for just a straight draw effect, but yeah, Wyndham Stadium is just not too good. So we do have Nessa. Choose up to 4 combination water Pokemon and water energy from discard. Put them into your hand. I actually do like this. It's effectively for Frostmoth 2 energy retrievals plus 4 Pokemon in a supporter form. So I think this is actually kind of decent in Frostmoth. But of course, this is going to be good for the Cramorant deck if that does see play, to be able to get back your Aracudas every time you discard them from play. So I think this is a no-brainer for that deck if that does start to see play. But like I said, outside of that, I do think this makes sense. Even in Frostmoth, I could see that seeing play as well. We'll have to see. But Nessa seems okay. Hero's Bath. This is a card I saw get printed. It got revealed like a couple days before this whole set. And I'm just over here shaking my head like, why are they printing cards like this? Each basic Pokemon plays takes 20 less damage from attacks. Why are we printing more basic support? Like, this drives me absolutely insane, guys. Like, if you've been following this channel for a while, you will probably know my complaints with the state of the game, specifically like back during the black and white format, most of the XY format, and more recently like the team up to present format, where it's just like the only decks that are viable are like the brainless dummy glue eater big basic decks. And just like, why are we printing cards that help these? Like, these are already the most powerful decks, and they shut out evolutions and all of the actual tasteful and fun, skillful decks that exist. They shut them out of format, and we keep printing dumb cards like this that help them. So sorry to get a little bit randy, guys. I just can't stand when they print junk like this for the game. So it's a good card. It's just, it's a horrible card in terms of the direction it keeps pushing the game. So this card frustrates me to no end. Kind of like Aegislash in the same, like for a kind of a similar reason as well. But yeah, it's good. It's just very frustrating to see more of these stupid types of cards get printed. So sorry for the negativity, guys, but I just can't stand these dumb big basic sort of decks. All right, so we're past that. Hopefully let's try to end this on a more positive note. We have I think these are the final of the 2 special energies. I'm pretty sure this will round them all out once these 2 get released. We have Wash Water Energy. So prevent all effects of attacks from your opponent's Pokemon done to the water Pokemon this card is attached to. Existing effects are not removed. Damage is not an effect. So, I mean, this is not bad. Again, this is just sort of based on, this is only as good as the quality of like effects that are in the game. So take a card like Inteleon VMAX just as an example. If a card like that or Torkoal V are very popular in the game that are removing your energy via an attack, Wash Water Energy actually could be pretty good for to sort of combat against those decks, or decks that inflict status conditions via attacks. That also could be good. My knee-jerk reaction, probably not too good right away. I don't think effects are something we're really too concerned with right at this moment. Things might change by the time this releases in November, but for the moment, I don't think we really need this. And then we have Coding Metal Energy. So it provides metal energy, and of course it is going to eliminate their weakness. So we did lose Metal Frying Pan in the rotation. So now Metal Pokemon have been a little bit more susceptible to fire. We've even seen them start running copies of Bronzong, as we've seen sort of more recently, to combat against fire decks. But now maybe you can just cut those and play some Coding Metal Energies and shut off your weakness and be able to continue to attack with your Zacians, your Lucario Melmetals, whatever it might be, without the fear of like a fire Pokemon just sort of nuking you out of nowhere. So I like Coding Metal Energy. I think this is a bit better than the water one that we looked at here. So I definitely expect this one to actually see play. But yeah, guys, that is going to be it. I feel like this was a little bit of a longer first impressions video. I do apologize about that, but we do have a good bit of cards to look at. Just going to scroll through the set again just to see, just to recap a little. I do like the Metal Energy. Unfortunately, I do like Hero's Bath. I think this is a horrible card for the game, just in terms of the direction it takes the game, or continues to take the game, I should say. But I think this is a solid stadium. Leon, solid. Bia, also solid. In general, the trainer cards are pretty good for the most part, I think. In terms of Pokemon, let's see. Snorlax, I think this ability is very good. Again, this is just my first impression, so I'm not sure what I want to play this with just yet, but I do actually like this ability. Aegislash V, pretty good. Garbodor, I like that. Let's see. Surfetched is okay. Let's see, Donphan, I think this is okay. Whimsicott also okay. Again, not sure if you're playing this with Garbodor or Garbodor is just going to be its own deck. Or I'm saying, well, actually, I think you'll probably play Garbodor with this no matter what, but Garbodor could also theoretically just be its own deck too, I think. Let's see. Shedinja was kind of disappointing. Alakazam, again, kind of bummed it's not a little bit better, but like I said, guys, just kind of happy to see Alakazam come back in the game. It's nice to see, you know, our old homie return. Let's see. Zapdos, I like Zapdos. I think all of the evolutions are fine. Again, it just depends if there's any decks that are worth playing Memory Capsule for. Electro, I think Electro is solid. Pikachu, it's fine. It's just kind of another, like I said when talking about Aegislash, just another one of these VMAXs for 3 energy. You two-shot everything and can knock out tag teams sometimes, so it's just another okay VMAX. I think it's a little bit disappointing considering it's the mascot of the set, but it's still an okay card. I do like the Cramorant Arrokuda deck. I think that seems pretty fun. Definitely looking forward to trying that out. Let's see. Talonflame, definitely solid. I think Talonflame's really good. Charizard seems like it has some potential. Orbeetle seems like a ton of fun. Really looking forward to trying out this archetype. And just want to point out the sick artwork on this thing. Love the way this thing looks. Definitely trying to get me a place out of those. And then Shiftry. So started and ended on a good note with Shiftry here. I do like this ability as well. Not sure what deck I'm playing this in, but I do want to mess around with it if nothing else. But overall, guys, I mean, I think this is a solid little set. There's definitely a couple things to like here. And like I said, these cards are going to be coming out in our Vivid Voltage set more than likely, or the vast majority of them should at the very least. But yeah, we went over a lot of things, so definitely sound off down below in the comment section. What cards from the set are you guys looking forward to? Are there any you think I was maybe a little too harsh on? You know, maybe some that I wasn't harsh enough on? Sound off down below. I want to know what you guys are thinking about this new set. But with that being said, guys, that's going to be it. If you did enjoy today's content, of course, smack that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you can, consider supporting this channel as well by becoming a patron over at patreon.com/rarecandytcg. or by picking up some merch from our online store, rarecandytcg.com. It would mean a lot. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.